We take a whole stack of sources, articles, research, our own notes, and we basically pull out the most important bits, the key insights, to get you surprisingly well-informed, fast. Today, we're jumping into something that, well, it seemed like it was just about genes at first, but it exploded. We're talking about actress Sydney Sweeney and American Eagle's Great Genes campaign. What's so fascinating, and why we're doing this deep dive, is how this one ad just spiraled. It touched on advertising, celebrity, really unsettling accusations about eugenics, beauty standards, and even deeper stuff like societal tensions around race and genetics. It got complicated. So our mission today is to unpack all the sources you sent over, pull out the crucial points, and really help you understand how a simple ad campaign turned into this huge, multifaceted cultural discussion.
Yeah, it's a really remarkable case study, isn't it? It shows how just a single word, really, in an ad can hit a nerve. It activates all these latent anxieties, political fault lines. Suddenly, a pair of genes becomes this like Rorschach test for where we are as a society. It's just a perfect example of how modern controversies aren't ever really about just one thing. There's always more going on underneath.
Absolutely. So to get how this all happened, we should probably start with the person at the center of it all, Sydney Sweeney. Who is she? I mean, beyond the headlines from this controversy, her background's pretty interesting. Born in Spokane, Washington, raised in North Idaho near a lake. Seems quite rural. And she was determined from a young age. Apparently, she convinced her parents to let her pursue acting when she was just, 13? By presenting them with a full 5-year business plan. That's intense. It led the whole family to move to LA. Most people probably know her from, Euphoria, Cassie Howard, and The White Lotus as Olivia Mossbacher. Got Emmy nominations for both. Huge roles. But she's really branched out recently, starring in and executive producing Anyone But You, that rom-com that did really well, hosted SNL. And she has her own production company, 50/50 Films. They produced Immaculate, that horror film, which is a project she actually auditioned for way back in 2014, didn't get it, but then later bought the rights and made it herself.
Right, and that's a key point, I think, her strategic approach. It's not just about being in front of the camera. She's clearly making moves behind it, too, producing her own stuff. This shows she's not just, an actress waiting for roles. She's a very savvy business person. And that understanding of her as a business force becomes pretty relevant when you look at how her image is managed, especially during a media storm like this one.
Okay, so that sets the stage for her. Now let's get to the ad itself, the spark. American Eagle's Great Genes campaign, the tagline. Sydney Sweeney has great genes. Seems simple enough, but the whole thing hinged on that wordplay, right? Genes. Genes. Tell us about that teaser video.
That seems to be where it really caught fire.
Yeah, they put it on Facebook, other social media. It's Sweeney saying, and I'm quoting here, genes are passed down from parents to offspring, often determining traits like hair color, personality, and even eye color. My genes are blue.
And the My Genes Are Blue line. We'll get back to that. But it wasn't accidental ambiguity. The company's own chief marketing officer told trade press beforehand they were using clever, even provocative language, specifically to push buttons. They knew what they were doing, or thought they did.
And they even framed it as an homage to an older, controversial ad.
Exactly. The Brooke Shields Calvin Klein campaign from 1980, the Nothing Comes Between Me and My Calvins one. That ad also got tons of criticism back then, mostly for sexualizing a minor. So, American Eagle was deliberately referencing a controversial piece of advertising history.
So they were intentionally trying to be provocative, referencing past controversy.
It suggests a calculated risk, definitely.
Yeah.
They were banking on creating buzz. But it raises that big question, when does trying to be edgy, especially now, cross a line? Given how sensitive things are culturally, did they just misjudge which buttons they were pushing?
Well, it seems they hit a really unexpected one. The backlash was immediate and, frankly, intense. Much more than just, oh, that ad is trying too hard. What were people actually saying? What was the core accusation?
The main charge, the one that really took off and shocked a lot of people, was eugenics. People accused the ad of promoting eugenics that discredited, frankly dangerous idea popular with white supremacists about improving the human race through selective breeding.
How did they get there from an ad about genes?
Critics zeroed in on Sweeney being blonde-haired, blue-eyed, and the script specifically mentioning traits like hair and eye color being passed down genetically. They felt it carried these really uncomfortable racial undertones. And that line, my genes are blue, some analysts suggested it was a nod to blue blood, that old term tied to whiteness and aristocracy.
Wow, okay. And social media.
Oh, it exploded. You had TikTok users saying things like, the ad is, what happens when you have a bunch of white folk who all look and think the same? Someone on X, formerly Twitter, posted, this is so Hitler-like. What really strong reactions.
But was everyone convinced it was intentional?
No, there was debate even among the critics. Some felt it had to be intentional, given the context. Others thought it was maybe just incredibly clumsy, a huge misstep. And then, of course, you had people saying everyone was overthinking it, reading too much into a simple pun.
Given that American Eagle said they want to push buttons, where do you think the truth lies? Did they anticipate this kind of controversy, the eugenics angle? Or was it just a gamble gone wrong?
It's so hard to know the exact intent inside the room, isn't it? But regardless of what they meant to do, the perception was that it aligned with these really charged concepts. And you have to remember the broader context, too. You had figures like Donald Trump talking about bad genes in political rhetoric around that time. So whether intentional or not, the ad landed in a space where those ideas were already circulating, and that amplified everything massively. It really shows how context can completely hijack the intended message, especially when things are so polarized.
Yeah, the message got away from them, it seems. So how did American Eagle react when this firestorm hit? And what did it do to their business, at least initially?
Their first official response was on Instagram. Pretty standard corporate statement, really. They said the campaign is and always was about the genes, her story, and stressed that great genes look good on everyone, trying to distance it from the genetics interpretation.
And the business side, did it hurt them?
Actually, no, not immediately. Their stock price went up. It jumped about $2 per share right in the middle of all this, which clearly suggests, the buzz worked on some level. It got attention.
So controversy equals clicks equals stock bumps.
Sometimes. Marketing expert Alan Adamson pointed out that totally safe advertising often just gets ignored. So the buzz, even negative, can be seen as a win in terms of visibility. But Alison Weisbrot from Adweek was more cautious. She said basically the jury's still out on whether this kind of attention actually translates into long-term sales. Buzz doesn't always equal purchases.
Right, and wasn't there a charity angle too that got lost in all this?
Yeah, that's kind of the unfortunate part. The company said the campaign was also meant to raise awareness for domestic violence, a cause Sweeney supports. Apparently, 100% of the purchase price of the Sydney gene was supposed to go to Crisis Text Line. But that message got completely drowned out by the eugenics controversy. Nobody was talking about the donation.
So it's this real tension, isn't it? Using controversy maybe gets you short-term attention, maybe even a stock bump.
Exactly. But what's the long-term cost to your brand's reputation? To customer loyalty? It's a gamble. You get eyeballs, sure, but what kind of eyeballs? And does that attention actually build positive feelings about the brand or just notoriety? It's risky.
And then, as if things weren't complicated enough, the story took another turn. Details about Sydney Sweeney's own politics came out. How did that happen? And how did it feed into the whole ad situation?
Yeah, this added a whole other layer.
Yeah.
Public voter records surfaced showing that Sydney Sweeney registered with the Republican Party of Florida, specifically in Monroe County, back in June 2024.
And the timing was noted, wasn't it?
Very much so. The registration date was June 14th, 2024. That was literally the day after Donald Trump was convicted on those 34 counts related to the Stormy Daniels case. This info came out right in the middle of the American Eagle ad controversy through a viral post on X, so the timing made it instantly part of the same conversation.
And wasn't there a previous incident involving her family and politics?
Right, back in 2022, there was controversy over photos from her mother's 60th birthday party. Some guests were wearing red caps that said, "Make 60 great again," clearly playing on the Maggi slogan. Others wore Blue Lives Matter shirts. At the time, Sweeney responded saying people were making assumptions and turning a family celebration into an absurd political statement.
So this wasn't entirely new territory for her, this kind of political scrutiny.
No, but the context was different now. With the ad controversy already swirling, her voter registration appearing just then, it just poured fuel on the fire. It really underscores how, today, a celebrity's personal life, even their voter registration, isn't really private if they're in the public eye. It gets woven into their public image, and by extension, into the brands they associate with. For American Eagle, suddenly their spokesperson wasn't just an actress. She was perceived as having a specific political identity that became linked to the ad's interpretation.
And predictably, perhaps, political figures jumped into the fray. They started defending Sweeney, framing the criticism in explicitly political terms, turning it into a culture war skirmish. Who got involved?
Oh yeah, it became a political football very quickly.
Yeah.
Senator Ted Cruz was one of the most vocal defenders on the conservative side. He posted on X something like, "Wow, now the crazy left has come out against beautiful women. I'm sure that will pull well." Classic culture war framing.
And he didn't stop there.
No, he went on Fox News and basically used the whole thing as an example of how, in his view, the Democratic Party had become extreme.
Yeah.
He actually said they decided they hate beautiful women.
Wow. Okay. Who else?
Then Vice President JD Vance also weighed in. He characterized the backlash as the left attacking people just for finding Sweeney attractive, again, framing it as overreach. And remember, Vance, now VP since Jan 2025, is generally seen as a national conservative, a right-wing populist figure. So his intervention fit that mold.
Even the White House.
A White House spokesperson reportedly called the criticism cancel culture run amok. So you had defenses coming from multiple high-profile conservative voices.
It's just wild how a jeans ad became this proxy battle. Does anyone get to be apolitical anymore if they're famous?
It seems increasingly difficult, doesn't it? These political figures weren't just defending an actress or an ad. Strategically, it's about rallying their base. They frame the criticism as liberal madness or an attack on traditional values or beauty. It reinforces their own political identity and uses a pop culture moment to score points in the ongoing culture war. The ad itself almost becomes secondary.
Okay, so pulling back a bit from the direct political responses, this whole thing clearly hit a lot of different nerves. What other angles or deeper interpretations did experts offer up, beyond the immediate eugenics and politics talk?
Well, some strategists wondered if it was actually targeted. Brand strategist Cheryl Overton suggested maybe this wasn't an accident, maybe the campaign was deliberately aimed at a conservative or even far-right audience. Anthropology professor Shalini Shankar took that further, arguing the campaign seemed to intentionally align with what she called a white nationalist, MAGA-friendly identity. Strong claims.
Was there a counter-argument to that? That it wasn't deliberate targeting?
Yes, definitely. Fashion writer Alyssa Vingan, for example, basically put it down to sloppy work. Lazy writing that just, misfired badly in today's climate. Not necessarily malicious, just careless.
And what about the sexualization aspect? That nod to the Brooke Shields ad wasn't just about controversy, it was about a certain kind of image, right?
Absolutely. That connection brought criticism about the campaign catering to the male gaze. Depicting Sweeney in a highly sexualized way, reminiscent of that 80s ad, which was controversial for similar reasons regarding a young woman's portrayal. That added another layer of critique.
And did we see other brands potentially trying similar things?
There was mention of a Dunkin' ad around the same time. It featured a young star saying something like, "This tan, genetics." And people immediately linked it, wondering if this kind of provocative, genetics-focused marketing was becoming like a mini trend, trying to ride that edge.
It just reveals so much about where we are, doesn't it? The mix of identity politics, race, beauty standards, advertising.
It really does. It highlights the massive challenge brands face now. They're trying to communicate in this incredibly fragmented, super reactive public space. Every single message gets filtered through countless different lenses, racial, political, cultural, often in ways the creators just didn't anticipate. Or maybe they did and rolled the dice. It's treacherous territory.
So after navigating all of that, the ad backlash, the political fallout, the intense scrutiny, where does this leave Sydney Sweeney herself? Has her reputation taken a hit?
It's interesting. Most experts seem to think her reputation is actually pretty much intact. Some even argue that her somewhat strategic, maybe enigmatic public persona, she doesn't always engage directly with every controversy, might actually make her more marketable in the long run. Less predictable, maybe more intriguing.
And her career certainly hasn't stalled.
Not at all. She's got major projects lined up. She's starring in and producing Christy, that biopic about the boxer Christy Martin, and another film, The Housemaid, for which she reportedly earned $7.5 million. That's serious money and serious producing power. So her momentum as both an actress and, importantly, a producer seems really strong.
Does that suggest a shift, maybe? That for celebrities today, weathering controversy isn't always about apologizing, but more about strategic silence and just keeping the career train moving?
I think it points towards that, yes. When a celebrity doesn't wade into the political mudslinging directly, it sort of allows the debate to happen around them rather than defining them entirely. Her clear focus on her work, especially the producing side, gives her this solid professional foundation that seems quite resilient to this kind of public turbulence. The narrative shifts back to her projects, not just the controversy.
Okay, so wrapping this all up, what does this mean for you listening? We started with literally a pair of jeans, And we ended up talking about eugenics, viral marketing strategies, culture wars, the nature of celebrity today. It's quite a journey.
It really is.
I think the key takeaways are pretty stark, aren't they? Wordplay and ads, maybe not so clever anymore, more like a political landmine. We saw how viral backlash is totally unpredictable, how pop culture gets sucked into politics constantly now, and how celebrity is tangled up with these really deep societal divisions.
Yeah, the big picture here is that this whole Sydney Sweeney American Eagle thing is just such a potent example of how everything connects. Every ad, every statement doesn't exist in a vacuum. It lands in this dense web of cultural meaning, political history, social anxiety, and it forces that question we keep coming back to. Are brands doing this on purpose? Are they trying to stir the pot for attention? Right. Or are they just getting swept up in the currents of our incredibly polarized world, sometimes accidentally hitting these explosive topics?
Which leaves us with something for you to think about. Next time you see an ad, any ad, look past the shiny product. Think about the unspoken stuff. What histories might it be echoing? What cultural nerves might it be touching, deliberately or not? It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How much of this provocative advertising is genuinely a mistake, and how much is just a calculated bet that outrage will get more clicks?